Ray from DCRainmaker.com. I'm here to do my first open water swim test with the Garmin Forerunner 935. Now this is Garmin's triathlon focused watch. It's also a much kind of smaller, more compact watch and a lot lighter watch than the Fenix series. So this sort of falls in line with the 735 XT that was released a year ago, but basically it is essentially the new version of the 920, but it's no longer square, it's round, a lot like the Fenix 5 that you have there. This is the Fenix 5 versus the Fenix 5S. It's a little bit smaller in size and kind of more comparable to this thing here. That's got metal on it. This is all basically plastic. Anyways, the whole separate video about all the differences there. You can check that out right up there. This is all about swimming. So what I've got is just a pretty straightforward open water swim, kind of get towards the end of the day, so don't have a ton of time left. I'm gonna go ahead and just simply go straight out over these tiny little wave things. I mean, there's not much here. Get maybe, I don't know, 100 meters out there or so, and then I'm gonna turn and just follow the shoreline straight on down until I'm bored swimming. My guess is maybe a half an hour, I don't know, 25 minutes. I'm kind of aiming for like the village down there roughly, and then I'm gonna walk back. So I like doing kind of one-way swims for swim testing purposes, as well as things moving around, stuff like going out like this and going straight, because it makes it easier to look at the track later on and kind of analyze what I was doing. So that's what I've got. To compare from an analysis standpoint, I have on my trusty swim buoy here a Garmin Fenix 3 that's acting as my reference data. So this simply will float on top of the water behind me, ensure that no boats hit me and people can see me from there. And then that'll go ahead and allow me to get the distance that's not the on the wrist distance, but actually the distance that's simply on the unit itself. And then I've also got another on the wrist unit, of course, the Garmin Fenix 5. And so the goal is to be able to compare those two side by side and see how they do compared to this as well. So it's like 3 for the price of 1. So with that, let's go ahead and get out there and go swimming. I'll stop at some point along the way and kind of show you some of the metrics on the watch itself. Keep in mind they're fully customizable, so what I've got on the watch is just what I happen to set, but you can change all the data fields and all that junk. And then when we're done, I'll look and analyze the actual swim tracks with you, and we'll talk about what went right or wrong. We'll find out. I have no idea. Anyways, let's get out in the water. Here we are, ready to go. I am as warm as I'm going to get. It's not terribly warm, but it's not terribly cold either. The water isn't actually that deep here, so it's only like I'm kneeling right now. In any case, I'm going to go ahead and start off on my Garmin's. So here we are, right here. Oh, I had to wait. There we go. I use bike mode in case you're wondering, because I find that's like the most stable. If I used open water swim mode on this one here, then it may do funky stuff. So I just like bike mode. It's clean, it's simple, it's easy to fly and all that stuff. Let's go and get things started. There we go. So that's started. That is started. And then there we go. Time to swim. Okay, here we are. Just crossed over the 500-yard marker. It took me a minute or two to get the camera out, but you can see right there that so far so good. That's at 5:37. Just hit just 500 a couple seconds ago, and the watch itself is I believe 0.29 miles, which I'm not sure offhand what that is. I'll put it down the bottom there. I think that's like 570 or 600 yards. So they're all in the ballpark. You know, you do tend to typically see differences between open water swim watches while swimming. That's pretty normal. You want it to be within like 10%. That's kind of my goal for open water swim watches. The technology, that's where it is today. So in any case, I'm going to show you some of the data fields right now. Go and change this over. So right here I have lap distance, which is every 500 meters or every 500 yards set as lap time, lap pace. I haven't really gone anywhere, of course. I got the time. I've got a map, so you can see where I am on that little map right there. You know, there's no like doesn't show the shoreline or anything like that. Just simply my map. You can see I went and the bottom there swam outwards and then along the shore. Next, we've got the stroke rate, which is 0 right now because I'm not moving. Strokes 243, average pace 203, 204. It's climbing because I've stopped here now for about 2 to 3 minutes. Take photos and junk, and then back to the timer screen. So all pretty straightforward. Again, you can customize these entirely depending on what you want. This is just basic screens I showed you. So let's get going, finish up this way. I'm losing my light here, so I don't want to be out here while it's dark out, and we'll talk at the end. Okay, so now we are at the end of the swim, or at least as far as I can swim. I'm now standing up here and it's knee-deep water, so I can't go any further because I keep it by this wave. In any case, I'll go ahead and stop the watch here, so I'll do that. Stop this one, and stop this one back here. So this one comes in at 0.63 miles, so 2/3 of a mile. I believe miles at 1,700 yards, so about 1,200 yards. This here is at 1196, and this here is at 1105. So again, they're all in the ballpark, all within about 10%. I'll put the final numbers on the bottom, but more importantly, we'll go ahead and walk all the way back, way the hell down there, and get inside and check out the data and see how it looks. Side note, I kept running into these little fuzzy balls in the water. No idea what they are, but like the size of a lemon, but they're soft and squishy and fuzzy. So one thing that's great about the swim buoy is the ability that has my sandals inside of it and everything else, my phone. It's all dry in here, so it does float behind me, but it's dry, which is pretty darn cool. So since I've got to walk back, I can do that barefoot, but you know, it's on the road and everything like that. So I just simply pop it. And there are my so many fuzzy balls. They're everywhere. Look at this. This whole thing is covered in fuzzy balls. I just wanted to share that. Sorry. I am truly interested in what they are. I mean, they're just all over the beach here. I'll have to look it up, and maybe I'll put it at the bottom where you can tell me what it is. Even better.
Okay, so here we are inside looking at the 3 tracks. Now what we have is the Forerunner 935 track in that teal color, which I realize is the same color as the ocean, but I don't get to choose the colors right now. Number 2 is the Phoenix 5. The Phoenix 3 on the swim buoy. I just renamed that wrong there. That's the purple track. And then finally the Phoenix 5 on my wrist on the other wrist. So I always keep them on separate wrists when I'm doing these sort of tests, just so they're not interfering with each other. What you can see is overall at the very high level, things look actually pretty darn good. Like you can see I started out here. I didn't start with the shoreline because it was simply too shallow. As you saw in the video, I could actually stand up the entire time. And so it was very, very shallow until I got about 100 meters out or so. So if we zoom in on that real quick, there we go, get moved over there. So I basically walked out to the middle point here, right out there, and then I swam out. And you can see that the 935 and the buoy were definitely a little bit better, I think, on capturing where I made that turn out here. This one seemed to be a little bit earlier on the turn, but it's not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. They all got the turn right, and I'm guessing that distance in between the 3 of them is kind of plus or minus 25 meters, which again, when we're talking swim tracking, you're really looking for like 10%, plus or minus 10% for open water swim tracking. That's kind of the general goal from what I've seen for years in terms of swim tracking. Sometimes you'll get it spot on, like sometimes it'll be exactly right, and then sometimes it'll be way off. You're just looking for generalities to be, that's the state of the technology today. So you can see as I swam down here, I believe I've stopped right here is the stopping point to take that first portion where I took the video there. And you can see that's where all the units kind of do a little bit of a dance. So things aren't quite right. And that makes sense because my hands are underwater briefly, in and out, they're holding things. It's not perfect, but overall getting to that point, they did fairly well. They all kind of track together. Here it gets a little funky, as I just explained. You know, it's not the end of the world. Then I keep on going again and things look pretty good. Now you do see the fact that it does kind of just have these big gaps between things, and that's because of the fact that it's basically trying to analyze a large number of plots of data points that may not be correct, and then making a path kind of in between them while averaging them out essentially. Whereas this purple track here, which is the swim buoy, is pretty much right on because it's gone on top of the water, it's recording the entire time, so it doesn't have to lose any signal every time it goes underwater. Then you get down here, you can see this is where the 935 does overshoot a bit on this. The other two pick up the turn a little bit quicker. And then as I got down to the end here, it also like did this little weird wonky overshoot thing right there that you can see. And I'm not sure what that was all about. That looks like kind of a classic case of, you know, coming back out of the GPS or back out of the water and then doing a misplotted point somewhere else. Not at the end of the world as you'll see in the distance in a second, but it's not quite perfect. Still, I mean, this is actually a pretty good, like if I zoom out, which is what I'm really looking at here, this definitely represents roughly where I swam, minus that errant point at the end there, which is good. Like I've seen a lot worse GPS tracks, and I haven't seen that many like much better GPS tracks. So this is kind of par for the course. If we go ahead and scroll on down here, so the other way, we can look at the distance lastly. You'll see here that the Phoenix 5 the Phoenix on the swim buoy was virtually identical to that of the wrist, like within like a third of a meter, which is crazy. And sometimes that's just pure dumb luck, to be honest, right? You're over averaging or overing on some pieces and under on other pieces, and you just end up in the middle. The 935 was off a bit, and I think the majority of this is actually that last little piece there at the end where it jumped off for some strange reason. So I think it would have been like spot on perfect if it wasn't for that last second that it did that little wonky dance at the end there. Still, it's pretty good. This is not bad. I'm not something I'm worried about. The data overall looks pretty good. So with that, thanks for watching. Go ahead and whack the like button down below as well as the subscribe button. There's plenty more sports technology goodness on the way. Also check out some of my other Phoenix 5 videos that you see on the screen there as well. That'll dive into much more detail on not Phoenix 5, Forerunner 935 videos that you see on the screen there. Much more detail on that. Have a good one.